Starting lineups for the visiting Purple Eagles. Marvin Jordan is the senior leader of this club, fourth-year key contributor to the Purple Eagles, and he is the yin to Antoine Mason's yang in that starting five. Meanwhile, for Siena, Rob Poole has really stepped up his game this season, the leading scorer and rebounder for the Saints, and Brett Bisping, the most improved player from last year to this year for Siena. Good crowd here in Albany to see the Saints and the Purple Eagles as Siena gets introduced to the largest fan base in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. And we've already talked about Siena's first-year head coach, Jimmy Patsos, who has helped to re-energize the fan base here in Albany. These two longtime conference rivals joined the MAC together in 1989. They had been conference rivals before that as well, so these two Catholic schools in upstate New York go way, way back. This is the 91st meeting between the two. You see the last meeting back in December, won by Siena out in western New York. Here's a look at our coaching matchup brought to you by Anaconda Sports, home of the Rock. And in the middle of that huddle, the man diagramming at the moment is Chris Casey, out of Western Connecticut State, a 1986 graduate in his first year as head coach at Niagara. Long time familiar with the MAC. He was an assistant coach at St. Peter's College, as it was then known, under Ted Fiore, and he'll be matching wits tonight with Coach Patsos. He also a longtime member of the MAC family, the last 9 years as head coach at Loyola, but Loyola left the league after last season, and Patsos took the opportunity when the opening occurred at Siena to jump ship without crossing battle lines within the conference. And they'll jump it up again. Niagara in its road black uniforms with the purple lettering and white trim. Siena in the home whites. And again, the tap goes out of bounds, but this time they will give it to Siena.
Let's hope we have a better flow than the jump ball here to start the game. 0 for 2 to get us started.
Now, Brett Bisping, Marquise Wright, Emo Silas, Levon Long, and Rob Poole, the starting five for the Saints with the basketball. Nice look to Bisping, who throws it down.
And as you mentioned in the open, the most improved player for Siena, maybe the most improved player in the MAC, playing terrific basketball, especially as of late.
Now on the year, averaging over 9 points and 5.6 rebounds per game, and those are a far cry from what he did as a freshman.
He may not be their best player, but he may be their most important player.
Strong move on the low block by Marcus Ware, the Monmouth transfer.
Coming off a real good game last time out in the win against Marist. Got himself to the foul line a ton. Able to knock down 10 foul shots in that game.
Well, Siena has its freshman point guard, Marquise Wright, running the show as he's been doing right from the start. Actually got the start in their tour of Montreal back in August, and those 5 games played in 6 days were instrumental in number one, getting a feel for what it's like to play in college. Offensive foul against Silas to free Poole. Wave off the basket.
Silas leads the country in fouls. Not a stat you necessarily want to be number one in, but he's not afraid to throw his body around. Sometimes a little bit too much.
Wesley Myers. And it's Siena basketball.
And Siena wants to get up and trap and press, and certainly Jimmy Patsos has changed their style of play completely. But one thing you got to watch out for, got to make sure that you go mark Marvin Jordan and Antoine Mason at the backside of that pressure defense, because those two guys can beat you from deep and score quickly.
Bisping left alone for 3. Follows his own miss. Snowden knocked it out of bounds, and Siena will keep it. Well, Rob, how similar is Siena this year to what we've seen from Loyola in years past, with Jimmy Patsos bringing his style here?
Well, they press and they run the flex, and certainly they're scoring a little bit more than we saw the Siena team the last couple of years. It will take a little bit of time and recruiting to maybe recruit to that style of play, but so far it's worked well for guys like Bisping.
Here's Rob Poole. He is Siena's leading rebounder this year, but he misses on the putback. And here's the nation's leading scorer, Antoine Mason. Last time these two teams met back in December, Siena did a good job on Mason and picking up the win. Ware now with 4 points.
Ware had started into the starting lineup a couple of games ago, replacing Joe Thomas, who was really struggling offensively, and Ware has picked up his scoring.
Siena relies heavily on its freshman class, largely recruited to go to Loyola. Poole, nice look to Silas, but his shot was blocked from behind.
And that's a problem with Silas. His offense just not up to where his defense is. He's got to be able to score the ball.
Stands his ground there. Jordan has to kick it back out. Mason misses his first attempt of the night. Another chance for Ware, a little strong. Siena, very good rebounding team. Silas part of that, kind of rebounding by committee.
Yeah, they've got real good overall size. One of the reasons why they rebounded so well. Silas, as has been the case recently, gets the start, but does not necessarily log a ton of minutes.
Now, Rob Poole is 6'5", Bisping 6'8", Silas 6'8", Levon Long is a long at 6'6", and they all average more than 5 boards per game.
Jimmy Patso said he was surprised by the size when he got here. He says, we work on rebounding, but really our size is what has them doing so well in that statistical category.
And there is Long, the freshman from Baltimore, who originally committed to Loyola, but he, along with Marcus Wright, wound up changing their commitment and following Coach Patsos when he took the Siena job. 3 from Myers makes the score 7-4 Purple Eagles. Long off the curl, drop it off for Javion Ogunyemi.
Good movement right there, and again, that's part of that flex offense. You get the ball moving, and on that reversal, you get the curl screen right into the open area. Nice dump off to find the guy.
Rob at shoot-around this afternoon. Coach Patso said that his team's X factor this year going forward is Javion Ogunyemi. Local recruit who committed to the previous regime and wound up staying with his commitment. Mason's on the board with his first 2.
Tough runner. He can score in a lot of different ways.
Bisping on the throwdown.
Well, a parting of the purple sea. Nobody in his way. We said Bisping may not be their best player, but can make a case most important. In the wins, he averages 13 points per game and shoots it at 61. And their losses under 7 and just 47%.
Ware up and over Ogunyemi. Bisping with a rebound, and here come the Saints. Marquise Wright. A little hesitation move off the window.
A little ball on the string there. Breaking ankles out in the open floor.
He's a young man who loves the game, supremely confident. He has become quickly one of the leaders here at Siena. It'll be Niagara ball when we come back. Jimmy Patsos came and educated him on the fact that you should stop playing the way you've been playing. You need to play more like Bill Lambier. And he said, who? He got video of him, saw him, and now he plays in a much more rough and tumble style like Lambier did.
Yeah, last year he was trying to be a face-up 4-man the entire time. And, you know, it's interesting. He and Robbie Poole, when you think about pressing style and running, you think maybe they're not good fits. But amazingly, the pressing style and the flex offense that Jimmy Patsos learned under Gary Williams have benefited both of those guys, having better seasons this year, even though you wouldn't think it would be a fit.
Gary Williams, the longtime Maryland coach, who along with Patsos won the national championship in 2002, made a preseason stop to practice up at Siena, and actually he was drawn immediately to Bisping, and he still keeps track of Bisping, and he's the one who helped to start Brett thinking about changing the way he looks at basketball. So Coach Patsos gives Coach Williams a big assist in helping the growth of this sophomore from Peoria, Illinois. Here's a look at number 31. Well, as Bisping goes, so go the Saints on the year overall, shooting 54% from the floor. As Rob said, he's over 60% in Siena's wins and much lower than that in the Siena losses. Here's Marcus Ware. He's got 4 early points, 6'8", redshirt senior from Vineland, New Jersey. And he is a 5th-year veteran of college basketball. He played 4 years at Monmouth before the Hawks joined the MAC. And then as a grad student this year, transferred to Niagara for 1 year when Coach Casey took over the program.
And one big difference is both these coaches coming in as first-year head coaches. Jimmy Patsos got the job early, had time to recruit, was able to bring some of the guys that he signed and had committed at Loyola. Chris Casey didn't have that luxury. Got the job so late that really they had to be creative just to be able to fill the roster, including getting a fifth-year, one-year transfer in Marcus Ware.
Well, Siena has 5 scholarship freshmen. Niagara has 11 total newcomers in the program. It's a program that has flourished Niagara under Joe Mihalik, who left after the season for the Hofstra job, and then Coach Casey, after being a Division II head coach at LIU Post for the last 3 years, got his first opportunity to be a Division I head coach.
And the first thing he had to do is try to figure out how to replace Wanye Green and Amin Tanksley and T.J. Klein, who was on the all-rookie team. Certainly Wanye Green, a star player for the Purple Eagles last year when they won the regular season championship.
Mason sticks it in the eye of Long and then turns and looks at Levon and says, I got you. 13-10 Purple Eagles. 5 points for the redshirt junior from Queens. Wright's pass, knocked away, and here comes Jordan to Mason. Evan Himes back defensively, and he draws the foul. Well, Antoine Mason is the son, as you probably know, of Anthony Mason, longtime NBA player. But their games, while similar in their toughness, are very different in a lot of other ways.
Well, certainly different position, different size, but both of them like to go find contact, not afraid to use the upper body strength. One of the reasons why Mason leads the country in field goal attempts as well as field goal makes.
6'3", 210 pounds, already the 8th leading scorer in the history of Niagara basketball, and he's now 15 behind catching Ed Fleming for 7th on the all-time list. He's not likely to catch the all-time leader, and Calvin Murphy at over 2,500 for his prolific 3-year career, but Mason certainly can fill it up.
Yeah, he saw 9 games of 30 or more. Only 2 games he hasn't gotten to the 20-point mark. One was against the Siena Saints way back in December as they held him to 18.
Yes. Well, he was only 5 of 10 in that game. So if you hold him to that few number of shots, you're doing all right. As a team in that first matchup, the Purple Eagles went 0 for 13 from beyond the arc. Shot clock down to 5. Ryan Oliver off the bench. Misfires the 3. And the ball goes out of bounds to Siena. So if you're Antoine Mason, as a 4th-year redshirt junior, do you try to turn pro after this year? There's been talk about it. I mean, I don't think anybody thinks he can step into the league next year, but he certainly can make money somewhere next year. Did you try to capitalize on being the nation's leading scorer?
Well, either that or the other thing now with the rules with the NCAA, if he graduates, he could transfer and play for another Division I school immediately. One of the things that the NCAA addressed at the convention in January and still open for discussion when we've got so many people transferring around. And certainly some talk about trying to come up with a little bit more consistent rules as far as when guys are going to be able to play and whether or not everybody's got to sit a year. So he'll have some options when this year is over.
There he goes, strong to the bucket again, up and over Silas, one of the best shot blockers in the league.
And he went right at him, and that's what you got to do with a shot blocker. You can't get away from him and allow him to adjust. You got to go right at him.
And Mason accounts for 35% of Niagara's offense. That's the most in the country. Mason scored the last 7 points for the Purple Eagles. That breaks the slump for Siena. Rob Poole from deep.
And with his size, especially with the rotation for Marvin Jordan coming out, he can shoot right over top. Got 6 inches on Jordan.
And Rob Poole, a 6'5 junior from Cherry Hill, New Jersey, outside of Philadelphia. Under 12 minutes remaining in the half. Here's Jordan. Thomas kept it alive, but Evan Himes, the junior for Siena, dribbles to the front court. Here's Silas. Hands it off to Poole, and we've got a foul called. Well, number 14 in black, Antoine Mason, off to a quick start here tonight. Averaging over 27 per game. He's first in the country. He's got 9 already, and he's got the Niagara Purple Eagles leading by 4.
Concerned, and already they've topped their win total overall as well as their MAC win total.
And 9-12 overall coming into tonight, 5-5 in the MAC. Ebenheim steps into a 3, a little strong. Poole crashes the glass, kept it alive to Bisping, and he had his shot blocked by Rayvon Harris. Siena will keep it on the baseline.
But there's the size of the Saints once again on the offensive boards.
Well, you've seen Rob Poole play for many years, coming up as a high schooler in New Jersey. Did you see him being a 6 rebound per game type of guy at the college level?
No. He's worked on his upper body strength, and you didn't see much of that in his first 2 years as well. I always thought he was going to be a great outside shooter, but his rebounding has surprised everybody, including Jimmy Patsos.
Coach Patsos telling me at shoot-around this afternoon that Poole's defense this year has been his greatest improvement.
Yeah, and that's the one thing when you talk to Jimmy. First thing he brought up was how good he's playing defensively.
White gives it back to Long. Tough shot in the double team, and then a traveling violation against Harris trying to get out on the break. Rayvon Harris had his career high against Siena back in December. He scored 15 points off of Niagara's bench. That performance earned him starts in the next 3 Purple Eagles games, with back coming off the bench these days for Coach Casey. Bisping on the offensive glass, back over to White, and back to Marquise Wright. Tajir McCall guarding Wright. White with a strong baseline move.
As Jimmy Patsos talked about scoring inside, it doesn't just have to be on post-ups. Drives and slash into the basket and finishing at the rim. They just don't want to settle for threes.
The people around the country know who Doug McDermott is. First-team All-American at Creighton. Second leading scorer in the country as McCall buries the shot. First leading scorer is Antoine Mason. And what makes Mason, Rob, such a good scorer that he's ahead of Doug McDermott right now?
Well, a couple of things. First, he's got a scorer's mentality. He's a guy that he doesn't care about things. He's going to put the ball up. If he's making shots, missing shots, he's not going to all of a sudden get gunshot. And the second thing is his upper body strength, his ability to go lean in, create contact. One of the reasons why he leads the country in foul shooting attempts. He's not a great shooter. He'll keep you honest, but what he is he's a great finisher, especially when he gets himself in the paint.
One thing that his dad used to do when he was growing up, Antoine played his high school ball outside of New York City in New Rochelle, actually just down the street from Iona College. And what his dad would do to make sure he had the toughness to play in college basketball the way the Masons need to play, he'd take him down to Rucker Park and make sure he toughened up his son.
And when you play in the playgrounds of New York City, you drive to the basket. Not a whole lot of outside shooting going on, and so guys' ability to get into the paint and then finish when you get there, that's a big difference. A lot of guys can get themselves into the paint. You see off to the quick start with 9 already. But his ability to go finish shots and creatively
and get to the free throw line like nobody else in the country this year. Now, his jump shot is not the prettiest thing, and both he and his dad readily acknowledge that, and they are working on it. His dad says if he can fix the hitch in his jump shot, he thinks his son can play in the league. I don't know how many people share that opinion, but he is a scorer regardless of what a shot looks like.
Yeah, and to play at that next level, he's got to become more of a perimeter player. He's got to handle the basketball more, got to be able to pass and find guys, and he's got to be able to keep you well honest from beyond the three-point line.
Off the turnover, Long puts Siena back on top, and another turnover forced by that Siena pressure defense.
And you see the crowd reacting to it. Jimmy Patsos' team plays so much different than the Fran McCaffrey teams played. Now, Fran's teams got up and down the floor, but it wasn't with pressure defense the way that you're going to get from Jimmy Patsos' team.
And he has taken the basketball out of the hands of Evan Himes this year. moved him off the ball coming off the bench and given the reins to Marquise Wright at the point. Who he says he envisioned to be a 25-minute per game guy. Marquise Wright now a 35-minute guy and the probably most indispensable player on the roster right now.
And Jimmy credits Evan Himes for accepting the role of coming off the bench now because, here's a guy that was such a terrific player as a freshman, struggled a little bit as a sophomore. Sometimes it's hard for guys to take that demotion coming out of the starting lineup, but Himes has done very well accepting it.
And Himes, the second leading scorer for Siena at over 10 per game. He's on the bench at the moment. Now imagine for a guy like Evan Himes, it's easier to accept a different role when you're coming off of 2 losing seasons.
Yeah, and sometimes you've got to have a different role for a better team. And he's still scoring the basketball, but as we said, now the ball's out of his hands, and it's a different role, but it's a better role, quite frankly.
Marvin Jordan has had different roles over the years, back into the starting lineup this year, where last year he might have been better suited coming off the bench as kind of a Vinnie Johnson microwave type.
Yeah, especially when you had the likes of Wanye Green and Amin Tanksley, so now he's got to now take on a little bit more of a primary scoring role.
And Green and Tanksley followed Joe Mihalik to Hofstra. The other guy you mentioned, T.J. Klein, who transferred away after a terrific freshman season, is sitting out his transfer year at the University of Richmond for Coach Chris Mooney. Got a media timeout with Niagara enjoying a 1-point lead over Siena, looking to avenge.
And that's how he finishes so many shots in the paint.
Now, Jimmy Patsos told you a few minutes ago, Rob, he didn't want Mason going for 40 tonight. That would be a career high, but he has gone for 39. Back in late December, he dropped 39 on Brown. So he is capable of putting up big numbers.
And he does it in halves of games. He's been over 20 and a half 8 times already this season.
Jordan hits the 3.
And that's a tough one. We said Robbie Poole had the size to score over top of Jordan. Jordan on the other side's got to shoot over top of the size of Robbie Poole to finish that.
Well, the 5'11 senior from Peoria, Illinois, is the second all-time three-point shooter in Niagara history, behind only Tyrone Lewis. He's now 33 off of Lewis's record. Javion Oganyemi's come back in for the Saints, as has Brett Bisping. Long turns. Missed it. There to clean it up, Oganyemi.
But that's where they want to score it. They want to try and pound the basketball inside, out of the flex offense. They don't take a lot of threes. Matter of fact, the 6th fewest attempted three-point shots in the country, so the 3 not a big part of their game.
Foul call against the Siena Saints. And it goes against Oganyemi, the freshman from nearby Troy, New York. Fans, the MAC is on all of your favorite social media sites like the MAC on Facebook, and follow the @MAC Sports on Instagram and Twitter.